Legacy drag. That was the phrase that changed everything. Ethan leaned forward in his ridiculous tech hoodie, waving his hands like he was pitching a mobile app, not talking about floodgates that protect an entire valley from turning into a swamp. The way you've stacked these safety redundancies is kind of cute, he said. But we're past that now. This is the real-time era. Cloud-based decisions, dynamic updates. No more legacy drag. I looked at him across the long glass table and wondered if he had any idea what actually happened inside this building. The Lakeside Dam wasn't a TikTok startup. It was 70 years of concrete, pressure, and careful failure planning. You don't simplify the system that keeps 40,000 people from drowning in their sleep. My name is Marissa. I'm 42, and I've worked dam safety in Rochester, New York since I was 24. I know every part of that facility. I know where the concrete seams sit, where the water sounds wrong when the levels get too high, which circuits burn out first during a surge. That meeting wasn't just uncomfortable. It was the start of everything falling apart. So you're suggesting we remove the blue zone failsafe? I asked, keeping my voice calm. You realize that's the final barrier between a power surge and a floodgate malfunction. He laughed. Fear is outdated, Marissa. What we need is speed. Your systems treat every fluctuation like the end of the world. My team is fixing that by Friday. Friday. 3 days. He wanted a full system overhaul, which meant tearing out the safeguards I had spent years protecting. You'll get the documentation, I said, smiling like my stomach wasn't twisting. I didn't return to my desk. I went straight to the basement diagnostics room that no one used anymore. I logged into an isolated terminal and started saving everything. Not the polished PDF files he wanted for board meetings. The real data. Raw logs. Error codes. Failure timing. Power curve irregularities. The ugly information that proves systems don't just fail quietly. They give warnings before they collapse. Ethan had no idea what the blue zone failsafe actually did. It didn't appear in system diagrams because it was never designed to be disabled. That protocol existed for one reason: to catch the exact kind of disaster a cloud-driven system wouldn't detect until water was already pushing against the gates. He assumed I'd go along with it. I didn't argue. I didn't challenge him. I smiled, nodded, and copied everything before he could destroy it. And when I finally stood up from that dusty chair, I had one clear thought. If he's going to bury us, I'll make sure the shovel stays in his hands. The next morning, posters were already on the walls. Big blue banners with Operation Flow State printed in trendy startup fonts, like we were launching a podcast instead of redesigning a flood control system. Ethan walked through the command wing like he'd already rescued the dam from itself. No more redundancies, no more bottlenecks, he announced, speaking to the team like a visionary instead of a consultant with a 6-month contract and zero real technical depth. We're not a museum, we're a living system, and we're going to run like one. He described mechanical checks as clogged. He called our emergency backups paranoid protocol padding. The room stayed quiet. People glanced at me, but no one spoke. Ethan wasn't just changing procedures. He was wiping out the old chain of command. That included me. By noon, I lost access to 2 of my oversight consoles. The pressure cascade simulator I used every day was gone. I submitted a support ticket. It was closed without explanation. At 3 p.m., I watched the live dashboard reroute all dam pressure readings to a beta cloud server based in Denver. I hadn't been trained on it. I hadn't been briefed. I couldn't verify it. Real time, my ass. That server didn't even have a redundant node east of the Mississippi. Ethan didn't care. This is how agile systems work, he said, sipping his disgusting matcha protein shake while I tried to explain the synchronization delay in the turbine flow data. You're stuck in the control tower mindset, he told me. We need fresh perspectives. You'll see. By Thursday, the senior team lead, Darren, 30 years of experience and steady under pressure was gone. Reassigned to remote compliance, his replacement was a kid from Ithaca named Julian, fresh out of Cornell's data science program, still wearing the corporate badge he'd received during onboarding. "I'm just here to listen and learn," Julian said, smiling nervously as he took Darren's seat in the control hub. "Ethan says we're doing a full refactor of the logic stack." I nodded. I smiled. I walked back to my office and shut the door. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I walked down 2 flights of stairs to the old diagnostics bay, the one that used to be mine back when this place still had a soul. The air still smelled like warm circuit boards and dust. Behind the breaker cabinet, a wall-mounted terminal was still running. Closed loop. Isolated. Completely outside Ethan's sandbox. No one used that terminal anymore because it didn't support touch controls or real-time dashboards, but it still gave me read-only access to the operations archive. I sat down, powered it up, and began duplicating everything. Every system change Ethan pushed through, I mirrored. Every safety flag he removed, every confirmation step he bypassed, every backup he disabled. I logged each action with timestamps and internal cross-references. I captured screenshots of memos, pulled raw system logs, and labeled every change by subsystem and risk level. I didn't challenge Ethan's rollout. I let it happen and documented all of it. Because this was never about winning a debate. It was about being prepared for the moment he broke the system and claimed no one warned him. That night, I went home and opened a bottle of wine I didn't even want. I sat on the couch with my laptop open, VPN routing through a residential node in Illinois, watching as more components were marked for deprecation. He removed our manual override tier next, said it was unreliable because of human error, said the logic needed to be trusted. He was dismantling the foundation while smiling like everything was solid. I didn't stop him. I just kept copying the plans. I let him believe he was in control. Let him believe no one could see the cracks forming beneath him. Let him narrate the story as it unfolded. I was already documenting how it ended. By Monday morning, the system felt louder. Not in sound, but underneath everything. The logs were running hotter. Error buffers were thinning. I felt it like a tight pressure behind my eyes. I was seated at the terminal in the diagnostics bay when I noticed it. A flagged inventory shipment, number 77G, had just cleared Ethan's new procurement system. I cross-checked the chip IDs against the vendor database. They were from Regulus Integrated, blacklisted 2 years earlier after a test failure caused a false gate opening in Oregon. Those chips had a known defect under high current loads. They could override manual commands, meaning if water levels rose and someone tried to take control manually, the chip might simply ignore them. I stood up, logged out, and walked straight to Ethan's office. He was leaned back in his chair, feet on the desk like he owned the building. Typing with one hand, drinking his green sludge with the other. "Did you authorize shipment 77G?" I asked, closing the door. He looked up like I'd interrupted a conference talk. "That's the new gate control batch," he said. The vendor was pre-approved by the purchasing AI. I held up the printout. They were flagged in 2022. Manual override failure risk. They shouldn't even be in the system. He waved his hand. "You're overreacting. Those were edge cases. The updated firmware compensates." I stepped closer. "Did you test them?" He didn't answer, just gave me that familiar, dismissive smile. "Did you test them, Ethan?" "I don't need to. The logic tree can handle it." "You're getting emotional again, Marissa." I took a slow breath. My hands were shaking, but I kept them still. "I need written confirmation that you're not restoring the manual override." He blinked. "What?" "You're going to email me right now stating that you reviewed the flagged chips, chose not to halt deployment, and are proceeding as planned." He stared at me. "You're kidding." "I'm not." I sat down across from him and folded my arms. He paused, then laughed. Wow, you really are a relic. Fine. He typed the email in under a minute and hit send. There, he said. Happy now? I stood up. Thanks. He leaned back in his chair, looking smug. Honestly, this is probably for the best, he said. I think we both knew you were being phased out. No hard feelings. I nodded. None at all. I walked out of his office, sat down at my station, and opened my resignation draft. Subject line: effective immediately. I attached a zip file containing my private audit logs and blind copied the federal oversight contact I'd worked with during the dam's last risk assessment review. Sent. That was the moment everything split. Because from that point on, I wasn't responsible for what came next. I watched the dashboards flicker as his systems updated again. Safety dependencies disabled. Command layers reduced from 3 to 1. No warning banners. No color coding. Just a flat, quiet hum. A clean interface that told you nothing until it was already too late. Julian stuck his head into my office just after lunch. Hey, I can't find the legacy safety tree in the new console. Do you know where it is? You'll have to ask Ethan, I said, powering down my station. Oh, okay. Are you heading somewhere? Home, I said. You should keep a backup drive, just in case. He didn't get it. Of course he didn't. None of them did. But I did. And I wasn't going to be standing inside the blast radius when the pressure finally hit the wall. I got home around 4:30. I didn't even take my coat off. I kicked off my shoes, dropped my bag by the door, and went straight to the kitchen table where my old personal laptop still sat. Dusty, but still alive. It took about 5 minutes to boot, and another 3 to tunnel into the ghost node. I built that back door 6 years ago. Read-only. Low bandwidth. Routed through a buried fiber junction they forgot to decommission. It didn't let me issue commands or modify anything, but it let me see. And right then, seeing was enough. The interface was bare. Black background. Courier text. No visual polish. But the alerts came fast. Red, yellow, red again. First flag. Water level discrepancy at the northern intake. Sensor read 89% full, but pressure data didn't align. Second flag. Flow sensor mismatch at gate 6. Actual flow was 15 cubic meters per second below predicted output. Third flag. 2 emergency release valves reporting open status, while acoustic sensors said otherwise, meaning they were physically closed. And if you don't understand dam systems, let me explain. That's like the fire department telling you the sprinklers are running while your building is already on fire. I stared at the screen. My jaw clenched so tight it ached. Ping. My phone lit up on the table. Message from Tina. Tina, 4:48 p.m. Ethan just removed FEP2B from the turbine protocol. Said it was redundant. I think that's the floodgate buffer failover. She was right. FEP2B was a failsafe protocol I had written myself after a near miss during a lightning storm back in 2013. It isolated the industrial turbines from the emergency floodgates during an override loop, exactly the kind of loop those faulty chips could trigger. And now, it was gone. I called her immediately. She picked up on the second ring, her voice shaky. Hey, I didn't know if I should text you, but... You did the right thing, I said. Don't run any commands. Don't approve anything. Forward all instructions from Ethan, but don't execute them. Got it? She hesitated. But what if he notices? He won't. He's too busy playing commander. Let him make the calls. Let him stack the mistakes himself. I'm logging everything from here. Silence on her end, then. Okay, I'll do it. I hung up and turned back to the ghost node, pulling up the system trace logs. Sure enough, Ethan's credentials appeared 5 separate times in the last 40 minutes. Batch changes to the turbine gate interface, suppressed threshold warnings, voltage instability monitors bypassed. He was punching holes in the boat faster than he could pretend to seal them. The backup alarms weren't even chirping anymore. They'd been streamlined, flagged as outdated. Too noisy, he'd written in the last operations memo, but the nodes still registered them. And I could see the trend line. Instability was creeping in. Quiet. Slow. Almost invisible, unless you knew exactly where to look. Like watching frost spread across a windshield. Tina messaged again. Tina, 5:12 p.m. He's asking about the emergency isolation tree. Wants to merge it into one menu. Me, 5:13 p.m. Let him. If he touches that tree, the system will log it as a security bypass. That would trigger the escalation ladder. Military compliance tier. The part Ethan never even knew existed because it wasn't included in the flow diagrams he skimmed. The system would respond. Not today. Not immediately. But it was awake now. Watching him. Watching everything. And I wasn't gone. Not really. I was still there. I just wasn't standing in the way anymore. Friday morning, 6:14 a.m. My laptop vibrated with the first automated alert. Audit log triggered. Priority. Red. User. Athens's device. Tablet unsecured. Action. Batch approval. 19 maintenance orders. Security protocol. VPN bypass. Unauthorized external routing. He'd pushed them through using his tablet. Not a secured console. Not an approved admin panel. Just a mobile device running on cellular data while he drank whatever powdered caffeine garbage he favored in the break room. The log recorded everything. Every tap. Shipment IDs. Task bundles. Override confirmations. Then the big one. Shipment ID 77G. Quarantine override. Manual. My stomach dropped. He did it. He bypassed the hardware quarantine on the gate control chips. The ones I had explicitly flagged. The ones that were never supposed to enter a live system without triple clearance. He forced them through and manually activated calibration sync. For a moment, nothing happened. No alarms, no lockdowns, no dramatic alerts. Then another log appeared. System notice. Threat detection mode activated. Trigger. Manual override of restricted calibration process. Risk score. 92.8%. 8% category. Internal sabotage suspected. Failsafe countdown initiated. T-8 hours 2 minutes. It was happening. The system had detected the threat and was following its response curve exactly as designed. Quiet at first, then escalation, then action. I picked up my phone and texted Tina. Me 6:19 a.m. Get out by 2 p.m. Don't look back. No explanation, no follow-up. She read it immediately. The typing dots appeared, then vanished. Good. She understood. I pulled up the live system view through the ghost node. Ethan's inputs were everywhere, his credentials stamped across the logs. He'd approved maintenance routines without checking dependencies. Issued gate synchronizations before baseline recalibration. Pulled backups while live operations were still running. He was stripping away safety layers like they were paperwork, not the last barrier between the river and thousands of homes downstream. The fail-safe countdown ticked quietly in the corner of my screen. No alerts yet. No notifications. Not until the final threshold was crossed. It was watching. It was waiting. My hands were wrapped tight around my coffee mug. I hadn't taken a sip. I just sat there in sweatpants, hair unwashed, staring at Ethan's name attached to every bad decision. He thought efficiency meant speed. He thought oversight was friction. He thought the dam was just a pipe you could push harder by cutting out the old systems. But this place remembered. This system recorded. It didn't forget the difference between human error and human choice. And Ethan had chosen wrong. Over and over. I refreshed the node feed. Everything looked green on the surface, but underneath, the core was already failing. At exactly 3 p.m., the screen changed. No alarms. No warning tones, just a shift. The interface flattened, indicators redlined, the command bar grayed out. One line blinked in the corner of the ghost node. Containment protocol. Level 2 engaged. I leaned forward. My heart was pounding. I didn't blink. Inside the dam, everything stopped. Turbines froze mid-cycle. Floodgates locked in place. Cooling fans and the control hub shut down together. The cameras caught it all. Low resolution, but clear enough. Lights flickered once, then dropped into red emergency mode. Then chaos. Ethan's voice came through an open intercom channel, echoing through the ghost node's passive audio feed. "What the hell is happening? Why are we in lockdown?" Someone muttered in the background. "Probably Julian." "I didn't do anything," Ethan said. "I just approved the calibration." "Then undo it," he snapped. "Get it back online, now, or call security. Who's still logged in?" No one was. The system had locked everyone out. Phones dead, desk consoles frozen, tablets useless. The dam had entered full containment mode. Military-grade offline logic tree, autonomous control. All decisions routed through the final layer, the black layer. That layer wasn't on any of Ethan's streamlined diagrams. I sat back, watching it unfold from my kitchen table, like I was separated from it by glass. The failsafe wasn't gentle. It wasn't polite. It was built to stop stupidity before it turned into mass casualties. On the screen, I saw Ethan shove past Tina, charging toward the control center door. It didn't open. Autolock engaged. He slammed his fist against it. "Open this door! I'm the director! Do you hear me? I'm in charge!" No one responded, because it didn't matter. The system had already heard everything it needed to hear. Every override, every shortcut, every ignored warning, and it had made its decision. Red emergency lights flooded the walls. Backup generators kicked in. You could hear the dull metallic sound of pressure clamps sealing the floodgates from the inside. Ethan spun in circles, shouting orders no one could follow. Julian stood frozen, not moving. Tina wasn't there anymore. Smart girl. She'd left when I told her to. I watched Ethan finally stop, hands on his head, breathing hard. Then he turned toward the blank wall of monitors and just stared at it, waiting for it to tell him what to do. It didn't. That wall only responded to logic. And the logic was simple. Unsecured access confirmed. Override detected. System at risk. Contain. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't personal. This was math. He believed he was smarter than the infrastructure. Thought he could outvote physics, outvote water, outvote consequences. But the system didn't care about his pitch deck or his six-figure title. It cared about thresholds. And he had crossed them. So it did exactly what I designed it to do. It shut the entire system down. 10 minutes into the lockdown, a screen in the control room came to life. Not the system interface. That was still frozen. This was a live feed. A military SEAL sat in the corner. Plain gray background. One person on camera. A woman in uniform. Maybe mid-50s. Hair pulled tight. No expression. She didn't speak at first. Just stared through the screen like she could see straight through Ethan. "Ethan Sloan," she said finally. "Director of Flow Operations, acting under contract with Lakeside Infrastructure Group." Ethan stepped closer, confused. "Yeah, who is this?" "My name is Commander L. Hartwell, Department of Energy Containment Division. You are now under active review for a sabotage-level breach of Federal Infrastructure Protocol. This channel is being recorded and transmitted to DHS Command." He blinked, stumbled over his words. "What? No. No, this is a mistake. There's no sabotage. I've been optimizing the system." She didn't blink, didn't hesitate. "You authorized shipment 77G from Regulus Integrated. You bypassed internal quarantine. You manually initiated calibration using blacklisted hardware with known override instability. He raised his hands defensively. It passed internal checks. The AI cleared it. You also removed manual floodgate control redundancies, suppressed failsafe alerts, and restructured emergency protocols without authorization. Ethan's face drained of color. He looked around the room, waiting for someone to support him. No one did. I was modernizing the system, he said, his voice cracking. It was full of legacy nonsense. I streamlined it. That's why I was hired. Commander Hartwell nodded slowly. You removed 14 federal safety checks, including one designed to prevent false open signals during surge events. That is not modernization. That is criminal negligence. He shook his head hard. I didn't know. Nobody told me. You were told. She cut in, her voice sharper now. You received written warnings. You signed override logs. You ignored internal objections. I thought she was just being dramatic, he shouted. She's been against me since day one. She hates innovation. You mean Marissa Keller? He flinched like the name burned. She is the reason this dam did not fail today, Hartwell said. Her protocols, what you call outdated code, held a system on the edge of cascade failure. Without her silent redundancies, 3 towns downstream would have flooded within minutes. Ethan tried to laugh, but it came out broken. This is insane. I'm the director. I was contracted to lead flow operations. This was my system. My plan. Your plan nearly killed 42,000 people. He pointed at the screen. You're twisting this. None of that happened. The floodgates never opened. Hartwell's tone stayed flat. They didn't open because Marissa Keller built a failsafe for people like you. That stopped him cold. A few seconds later, 2 men in tactical uniforms entered the control room. Full gear. Badges visible. No hesitation. One of them pulled out zip cuffs. Wait, no. I'm the director, Ethan said, backing away. I'm director of flow. They didn't respond. One grabbed his wrist, turned him around, and cuffed him without a word. I'm director of flow, Ethan shouted again, louder now, like saying it enough times would make it true. You're making a mistake. This is my system. Commander Hartwell watched from the screen, completely unmoved. Remove him. And just like that, Ethan Sloan, visionary consultant, disruptor of legacy systems, self-declared genius, was escorted off camera like a shoplifter caught on security footage, still shouting that meaningless title, still unable to understand what he'd done. I sat at my kitchen table and watched it all play out. The silence afterward felt heavier than any alarm. Not because I felt satisfied, but because I finally knew he would never touch a damn thing again. My phone rang the next morning before sunrise. Unknown number, DC area code. I let it go to voicemail. They called again an hour later. This time, I answered. Miss Keller, this is Deputy Monroe with the Department of Energy. We're requesting an immediate consult. You're the only person authorized to restore command-level access to the Lakeside facility. The system is locked in containment mode, and we need your clearance. I didn't say yes. Not right away. I want full control, I said. No contracting firms, no startup middlemen, no private oversight. I report directly to federal operations only. Silence on the line. And I want it in writing before I touch a single command string. Another pause. Then, understood. We'll send the contract by noon. Can you be on site Tuesday? Yeah, I said. I'll be there. Tuesday morning, I walked through the front doors of the dam facility again. No badge swipe required. The scanners had been taken offline. In their place stood uniformed guards with clipboards and sidearms. Real federal security. Not rented contractors with startup lanyards. The lobby had been stripped clean. No banners, no beanbags, no neon signs, no kombucha fridge, no whiteboard slogans about disruption. Just concrete, steel, silence. The building finally looked the way it was supposed to, like a place that held back a river. People looked up as I passed. Some nodded. A few just stared. No one said anything. But the way their shoulders relaxed told me everything. They weren't afraid anymore, at least not of what came next. I cleared the checkpoint, passed through the security doors, and entered the operations wing. The glass-walled office Ethan used to parade through was empty, completely cleared out. Not even a chair left behind. Just dust and a single fingerprint smear on the inside of the window. I kept walking. Halfway down the corridor, I saw Tina leaning against the wall, arms crossed, holding a thick binder. When she spotted me, she straightened. "You really came back," she said, half smiling. "Contracts are clean," I replied. "I answer to one agency now. Nobody else." She glanced around and lowered her voice. "We heard he's under formal investigation. Federal charges." I nodded. "They'll bury him in paperwork long before he ever sees a courtroom." She hesitated. "Is it really over?" I stopped. "No," I said. "The chaos is over. The cleanup starts now." We walked the rest of the hall together. No speeches, no reunions. We both understood what we'd seen and what we'd narrowly avoided. Inside the main operations center, the legacy control panel had already been restored. The federal team hadn't altered anything. They were waiting. Good. That meant it would be done correctly. I entered the control room alone. No cameras, no welcome back signs. Just the quiet hum of power systems vibrating through the floor. That sound told me the place was alive again. My old terminal was still in the back corner, untouched. And sitting exactly where I'd left it was the cactus I'd brought in 11 years ago. Dry, a little shriveled. Same chipped white pot, same dusty shelf. Still holding on. I sat down and logged in with my new credentials. Federal grade, top-tier clearance. The interface blinked. Keller.m Command Authority. Primary master access verified. One system at a time, the buried controls came back online. Manual gate override tree, pressure chain verification, redundant flow alarms, fail-safe protocols. Each one turned green. Slowly, steadily, no cloud garbage, no glossy dashboards hiding raw data underneath. This was the real control spine, built to withstand time, water, and human stupidity. Through the window, I could see the turbines. Their blades moved in sync. Not fast, not loud, just right. Below them, the floodgates held firm beneath the late afternoon sun. Nothing leaked, nothing shook. The town sat quiet in the distance, safe, asleep. Because the job was done right. Because someone was still standing watch. I leaned forward and typed the final line for the day. Set override access. None greater than authorized users. Keller.m only. A prompt blinked. Confirm. Y/N. I pressed Y. Command accepted. Locked. No one was cutting corners again. Not without going through me. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. That wasn't the job. I existed to stop the things no one else saw coming. I was the wall, so others didn't have to be. I looked up at the master display, took one slow breath, and spoke quietly. System, lock the gate.